For our introduction, in this section, you will understand what marginalization means, specifically in the area of education. You will learn about the different groups that are marginalized in society and in education. You will explore a process that can be used to identify issues of marginalization in class or school. There might be situations that you are not aware of that having marginalization issues, and it is important for you and the adults in the school community to be aware of this so that an appropriate response can be given. So this lesson is very important in recognizing and addressing the unique challenges faced by marginalized groups or community is essential for promoting social justice, equity, and inclusivity, as well as dismantling the structure. So now, let us get started to know what is the marginalization means in terms of education. Marginalization in education refers to the exclusion or relegation of certain groups of students from receiving equitable access to educational resources, opportunities, and support. These students often belong to marginalized communities due to their race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, language, or other factors, face barriers that hinder their ability to succeed academically or socially. Now, let me share you a story of Ika who are experiencing marginalization. Ika, an 8-year-old girl, belongs to an indigenous group in Luzon, Philippines. Her ancestors were driven out of their land and forced to live in the mountain in the forested area. They lost their lands to people who talk about progress and development. This indigenous group lived by planting root crops, hunting, and trading their produce with people in the barrios. They have their own language, culture, and beliefs. Ika walks 2 hours to get to a barrio school together with 4 other children. When they get to school, the other children from the barrio make fun of how they look and speak. The teacher starts the class with the letters of the alphabet and says that A is for apple, B is for bus, C is for cat. Except for cat, Ika and her friends have never seen an apple or a bus in their short lives. They have difficulty understanding the lessons that are unable to do homework because their parents are uneducated and thus are unable then to teach. They lack school supplies because there are not enough money to buy them. They go through a curriculum that never considered the context that indigenous groups live in, their way of life, their culture, and belief system. At the end of the school year, Ika and her friends have low grades. They have difficulty learning the skills and concepts that had been taught. They are marginalized group who have been treated unfairly just because they are different from the rest of the children in the area. They are treated as second-class citizens and have been pushed out of mainstream society. They attend the school where they are made fun of. They are challenged cognitively by a curriculum that never considered them in the first place. In a few years, they will be lucky to have graduated from elementary school. More often than not, they just drop out of school. This is fictional story, but it depicts the plight of majority of our indigenous children. And now, let us know what is marginalization and inclusion. Marginalization refers to the process of relegating individuals or groups to the outer edge of the society, denying them access to resources and opportunities. Inclusion, on the other hand, it is all about creating environments where all individuals, including those who may be marginalized, can participate fully and have their needs met. In essence, marginalization is about exclusion, while inclusion is about embracing diversity and ensuring equitable opportunities for all. But how does inclusion connected to the marginalizations? Inclusion and marginalization are interconnected and opposite concepts. Inclusion is about bringing marginalized groups into mainstream society, while marginalization is the process of excluding or relegating individuals or groups to the periphery. Effectively, working towards inclusion requires understanding the root causes of marginalization and actively addressing them. Marginalization often stems from discrimination, exclusion from opportunities, and a lack of power and resources. It can be manifest in various forms such as limited access to education, healthcare, economic opportunities, and political representation. According to Mizzou in 2012, manifests how young people's voice can intensify systems, processes, and experiences in congruence with inclusive education. The term's voice is clearly identified as one of the students' rights. It means having a say as well as referring to a language and emotional components as well as nonverbal means that are used to express opinions. Simply put, it is listening and paying attention to what the young people say and do not say. It means attending to the words, emotions, and behavior of young people and providing them with various opportunities to fully participate and collaborate with adults in education. In a book entitled Confronting Marginalization in Education, issued in 2012, it presents a framework that focuses on the collaborative activity between young people and adults in education that promotes inclusion. It also takes into consideration other factors that contextualize marginalization like the curriculum, systems within the society, or the effects of administration and management on the everyday lives of teachers and young people in the schools. The framework is four-step cyclical process that is quite flexible for this marginalization. These are the four steps in cyclical process. The first step is opening doors, enabling voices to be heard, which means situating the students in the center of the process. Various methods are used to allow them to express. It's how various concerns and experiences led to the marginalization of students in school. The students are respected as active participants. Different methods suggested to be used are appropriate to the age of the learners. They are drawing, role-playing, doing interviews, engaging in group discussions, analyzing visual images, and other quantitative ways to measure social relationships. The question that is asked is, what do you think are practices, behavior, policies, and systems in the class or in the school that are cause marginalizations? So the next step is then looking closely, bringing concerns to the surface. Meaning, in this stage of the process, data gathered from step 1, it is meticulously examined to identify students who may be experiencing some kinds of marginalization or any concern that may lead to the marginalization. It is the it is the practitioners who study the data, unless there were students who act as co-researchers. Staff and members should be gathered to discuss the data gathered and the basic information that is surfacing from specific students and about distinct concerns. Data to accomplish the next step is chosen, taking great care of ethical aspects that need to be considered. Like for example, Marginalized students may feel like they don't belong or are not valued in the school community due to their identity. This example is very suitable for students who are belong to this indigenous community. So the third step is what we call making sense of the evidence, which is sharing data with the learners. That means it is during this time that there is an explicit focus on the concerns about marginalization that were gathered from the previous step. Only concerns or issues are discussed and no names are mentioned. Students are asked to think about their own experiences as well as about what their classmates feel and experience. This involves a discussion between the adults and the students, and everybody learns from each other. The last step is dealing with marginalization, which means encouraging inclusive thinking and protest. Collaboration between the adults and students in this space is very significant. It spells out the response of the group and the concrete actions that will be taken to confront the issues and concerns about marginalizations that were shared in the previous step. The process does not end in step 4. It goes on and makes adults mindful of what the young people have to say. It also assures both the young people and the adults that marginalization is given due attention and concern are addressed. The actions that are taken are the result of a shared goal of inclusion. These are the International Labour Organization or ILO describes child labor as work that deprives children of their childhood, their potential, and their dignity, and that is harmful to physical and mental development. Child labor is caused by poverty, the lack of education, and lack of schools. One of the key results noted in the report is child labor is frequently with educational associated marginalization. This report was the first to acknowledge the connection between education and child labor. It clearly stated that a large number of child laborers are unable to get an education because of poverty, situations of armed conflict, and the calamities. Those children who are able to study are emotionally and physically tired from work and are incapable of gaining much from studying in school, nor do doing self-study. They also tend to perform below par compared to their classmates in terms of learning achievement. Next, we have indigenous people. There is no commonly acknowledged meaning of the term indigenous people. Study on the problem of discrimination against indigenous population presented a working definition of indigenous communities, people, and nations. Indigenous communities, peoples, and nations are those which having a historical continuity with pre-invasion and pre-colonial societies that develop on their territories, consider themselves distinct from other sectors of the societies now prevailing on those territories or parts of them. One, we have abused children. The World Health Organization defines child maltreatment as the abuse of neglect that occurs to the children under 18 years of age. It includes all types of physical and emotional ill treatment, sexual abuse, neglect, negligence, and commercial or other exploitation, which result in actual or potential harm to the child's health, survival, development, or dignity in the context of relationship of responsibility, trust, and power. Lastly, we have refugees or displaced children. The United Nations High Commissioners for Refugees defined refugees as someone who has been forced to flee his or her country because of persecution, war, or violence. A refugee has a well-founded fear of persecution for reasons of race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership in a particular social group. Most likely, they cannot return home or are afraid to do so. War and ethnic, tribal, and religious violence are leading causes of refugees fleeing their countries. An internationally displaced person, or IDP, is someone who has been forced to flee their home but never across. Again, everyone, my name is Nicole C. Francisco, a second-year B.Ed student at Palawan State University, Nara campus. Thank you and God bless.